Hello, in this video, we are going to go over finding limits of these functions. For this first function, we need to recall that it is a piecewise function. We need to remember that these graphs are V-graphs and that we breaks down into this: negative x for when x is less than 0, positive x for when x is greater than 0. This is our function. Thus, when we find our limits, we see that the left side and the right side are both equal to 0 when we plug 0 in. And thus, our limit as f of x approaches 0 is 0. When we plug negative infinity in, we realize we are going in this guy right here because we're less than 0. Plug negative infinity in for x, we get negative infinity, brings us to positive infinity. We can check the graph to double check that. The v goes up in both directions. As I go to negative infinity for x, the further left I go, the more up my graph gets. So there you go for that first one. For b, we have to break it down again to the -1 and the +1. They both simplify to -1 and +1. So for when x is less than 0, we have -1. When x is greater than 0, we have +1. I graphed it right here. We can see that the limit from the left side of 0 and the right side of 0 are not the same. They are not the same. Thus, the limit as x approaches 0 does not exist. The limit as x approaches -5, though, will just be on this line. As you can see, it's less than 0. We can plug it into our function. It's just -1. Nothing else to do. And as x approaches positive infinity, well, that's that part of the piecewise is just 1. And if we look at our graph, as I go more towards the right, positive infinity towards x, my y just stays 1. For the next graph, we see, let's bring this over a little bit, might be less congested. Let's separate this out a little bit. What we see is that the graph is no matter what, 6 vertically. So no matter what value we plug in, we should get a value of 6. Also, there's no x to plug into, right? So as x approaches 2, it's just 6. As x approaches negative infinity, it is just 6. We can confirm that by looking at the line. X of 2, 6. And as x keeps going towards negative infinity, it remains 6. The cosine of x is this wave graph that we know. And we know that as the limit approaches 0, we can plug 0 in for a cosine of x, and that is equal to 1. We can confirm this by looking at the graph and confirming that the right side and the left side are both equal to 1. So it's not a great graph, but you get what I'm trying to say there. Next, as we approach infinity, though, we have a bit of an issue because as we keep going right, we're going to keep going up and down between positive and -1. That means our limit does not exist because it does not approach one singular value or just a negative infinity or a positive infinity. In another video, we're going to finish up some more of these limits.